In 1942, American farmers faced a crisis. Wartime rationing had choked off their supply of petroleum diesel. Their tractors sat idle. Their trucks stopped rolling. Their farms faced collapse. So they did something that sounds impossible today. They poured vegetable oil straight into their fuel tanks. No engine modification, no special equipment, no chemical conversion. Just pure, pressed plant oil burning in diesel engines designed for petroleum. It worked. Farms across the Midwest ran on soybean oil, sunflower oil, and an ancient oilseed called Camelina. Then the war ended. Petroleum became cheap again, and the knowledge that a farmer could be completely energy independent using plants grown in his own fields was quietly buried. Not because it stopped working, because a system built on oil dependency could not afford for you to know that freedom was growing in your backyard. This is the story of Camelina, the plant that fuels any diesel engine. Welcome to USA Grows. The archive opens in southeastern Europe, approximately 4000 BCE. Archaeological evidence shows that Camelina sativa, also known as gold of pleasure or false flax, was already being cultivated for its oil-rich seeds. By the Iron Age, Camelina had spread across the continent, valued as much for its hardy, resilient nature as for its golden oil. It required almost no water. It laughed at poor soil. It grew where other crops failed. For thousands of years, farmers pressed its seeds into oil for lamps, for cooking, for medicine, and yes, for fuel. The original diesel engine, invented by Rudolf Diesel in the 1890s, was designed to run on vegetable oil. Diesel himself believed that plant-based fuels would one day power the world, and for a brief window in history, he was right. Now let us talk about what this plant can do. Camelina produces seeds containing 38 to 43% oil by weight. Compare that to soybeans, which average only 18 to 20% oil. On the same marginal land, Camelina can yield more than 500 pounds of oil per acre, while soybeans struggle to produce 400. But the real story is not the oil content. It is what the plant asks for in return. Camelina is recognized as one of the most drought-tolerant oilseed species on Earth. It thrives on marginal land where corn withers and soybeans die. It requires no irrigation, no expensive fertilizer, no constant coddling. You plant it. You walk away. You harvest oil. That is not farming. That is freedom. So here's the question nobody in the petroleum industry wants to answer. If Camelina is this productive and this resilient, why did it disappear from American agriculture? The answer is simple, brutal, and reveals everything. Camelina was a popular crop through World War II, valued for its oil during wartime rationing. But in the 1950s, as post-war petroleum flooded the market and industrial agriculture consolidated around a handful of commodity crops, Camelina production plummeted. It was displaced by higher-yielding crops like rapeseed and canola, crops that fit the industrial model of chemical inputs and corporate supply chains. The U.S. farm subsidy system, designed to prop up corn and soy, left no room for a plant that grew too easily and asked for too little. Camelina did not disappear because it failed. It disappeared because it succeeded without the system. And in America, success without the system is the one thing that cannot be tolerated. But the plant did not die. It just waited. And in 2010, it roared back onto the world stage in a way that no one expected. On Earth Day, April 22, 2010, the United States Navy took an F/A-18 Super Hornet fighter jet, painted it green, and dubbed it the Green Hornet. The engines were fed a 50-50 blend of conventional jet fuel and biofuel refined from Montana-grown Camelina. The pilot pushed the throttle forward. The jet accelerated past the speed of sound, hitting Mach 1.7, nearly 1,300 miles per hour. The Green Hornet performed exactly as engineers expected, completing every test objective without a single modification to the aircraft or its engines. It was proof that plant-based fuels could power the most demanding engines on Earth. The Navy was so encouraged that it spent $42 million on biofuel testing, including $12 million to purchase 450,000 gallons of Camelina-based fuel. Then Congress stepped in. In May 2012, a House committee voted to ban the Department of Defense from purchasing alternative fuels that cost more than traditional petroleum. At the time, Camelina biofuel cost approximately $27 per gallon. Petroleum cost $3.50. The program funding was cut. Not because the fuel failed, because it cost more to produce at small scale than a century-old petroleum infrastructure designed to extract oil from the earth for pennies. The plant that could power a supersonic fighter jet was grounded not by physics, but by economics. Here is what they did not tell you. Camelina is not alone. Throughout history, humanity has discovered dozens of oil-bearing plants with diesel-compatible profiles. Hemp seeds contain 30 to 35% oil, and researchers have confirmed that hemp seed oil is a viable feedstock for biodiesel production. The tropical plant, Jatropha, which grows on marginal land across Africa and Asia, produces 38 to 40% non-edible oil that converts directly into diesel. And then there is the forgotten bladder pod, a native North American oilseed that early settlers pressed for lamp fuel. Each of these plants represents a thread of knowledge that industrial agriculture cut because a farmer who grows his own fuel does not buy petroleum. And a farmer who does not buy petroleum is not a customer. He is a threat. Now, let me walk you through the simple cold press oil extraction process, because this is knowledge you can use tomorrow. You do not need a degree. You do not need a chemical plant. You need a mechanical oil press. Small-scale presses suitable for homestead use are available for a few $100s. The process is straightforward. First, you grow and harvest Camelina seeds. The plant matures in just 85 to 100 days from planting. Second, you dry the seeds thoroughly to prevent spoilage and improve oil flow. Third, you feed the seeds into the press. The press uses mechanical pressure, not heat, to squeeze the oil from the seeds. This cold-pressed method preserves the oil's quality and eliminates the need for chemical solvents. The oil flows out one spout. The leftover seed cake, still rich in protein, flows out another. That seed cake can be fed to livestock or composted back into your soil. Nothing is wasted. From seed to oil in an afternoon. Now, here is the part most people miss. The same oil that fuels your diesel engine is also an extraordinarily healthy cooking oil. Camelina oil contains 25 to 30% omega-3 fatty acids, making it one of the richest plant sources of this essential nutrient. It is naturally high in vitamin E, which acts as an antioxidant and has an ideal balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. The flavor is mild and elegant, with subtle notes of asparagus and hazelnut. You can drizzle it on salads. You can use it in place of olive oil. You can take it as a daily supplement. One plant, two uses: fuel for your engine, food for your body. Now let us talk about the economics, because this is where the suppression becomes undeniable. Camelina can be grown on marginal land with zero irrigation. A farmer with just 5 acres of Camelina can produce enough oil to meet the annual fuel needs of a typical farm's machinery. 5 acres of land that might otherwise sit fallow or produce low-value hay becomes a fuel field that eliminates a major operating expense forever. And because Camelina is a short-season crop maturing in under 100 days, it can be double-cropped with other plants. Plant Camelina in early spring. Harvest it in early summer. Then plant soybeans or sunflowers on the same ground. 2 harvests. 1 growing season. More oil. More food. More freedom. And here is what the petroleum industry really does not want you to know. On-farm biofuel production is currently legal in most U.S. states when the fuel is used on the farm where it is produced. You are not required to register as a fuel manufacturer. You are not required to pay federal excise tax on fuel you produce and use yourself. You are not required to meet commercial fuel specifications for personal use. The legal framework for energy independence already exists. The only missing piece is the knowledge that you can do it. The pattern is familiar. Indigenous and traditional crops that enable sovereignty are systematically erased, not because they are inferior, but because they cannot be controlled. Camelina cannot be patented. Its seeds can be saved and replanted year after year. Its oil can be pressed without expensive machinery or chemical solvents. It requires no fertilizer, no herbicide, no irrigation. A farmer who grows Camelina owes nothing to the petroleum industry, nothing to the chemical industry, and nothing to the seed companies. That is why it was buried. That is why you never heard of it. Not because it failed, because it succeeded too well. The Green Hornet proved that plant-based fuel can power a supersonic fighter jet. The American farmers of 1942 proved that vegetable oil can power a tractor. Rudolf Diesel proved that his engine was designed for plant oil from the very beginning. The knowledge is not lost. It has been sitting in the soil, in the seed catalogs, in the forgotten pages of agricultural history, waiting for someone to remember. Every gallon of petroleum you buy is a vote against the system your great-grandparents used to be completely energy independent. The plant that fuels any diesel engine is still growing. The knowledge is still recoverable. The only question is whether you will plant it. If this story opened something for you, subscribe to USA Grows and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve this wisdom. The next story opens soon.